Hey there, this is Mr. Tiger Drop Films, and I'm like in the underground part of YouTubers in terms of Yakuza video essay creators. And if you haven't checked it out, here's one of my biggest projects in terms of Yakuza, where I cosplayed as Tadamura and fought against myself, Mr. TDF, in search of all the answers in Yakuza's underworld, and kind of a big short film I call the Tadamura Files Complete Series, right here. Be sure to check it out. It's waiting for you right here on my channel. Couldn't be easier to click on it. But anyway, for this video, it's a throwback to some of my essays over the secrets of the Yakuza franchise. Some secrets you won't believe. So join me as we dive into about 5 video essays. I'll add in new little parts of me, talking about the background and why I made these particular video secrets. Without further ado, grab your favorite Stamina X or Boss Coffee and your platinum plates, and let's get into it. Oh, yes. Open worlds and their details can be enthralling. They can just be so enriching that they draw you in and you get really immersed. And as I'm sure you know, Yakuza is that to a T with its virtual tourism. However, I was really thinking at how many of these Yakuza games are actually, well, Easter eggs or weird details in the open world that are either connected to the story or just some random kind of Easter egg, a little side note about the characters, huh? You see, a while back, a few weeks ago, I was playing one of my old favorite games as a kid from the PS2, that being The Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction. And now that I'm older, I went back through that game and found a bunch of Easter eggs, as you can see here, in its open world. The city and the desert, referencing characters such as Joe Fixit, Jarella, the Pantheon, and even Jack Kirby himself, among other Easter eggs. And that was from 2005, a game as old as the Yakuza series. So I thought if even the Hulk could have a bunch of little small details in his old open world video game, then I'm sure Yakuza has a bunch, right? So sit back, relax, and join me as I pick some of my favorite open world secret details in these games. And of course, if you already know some of these, then let me know in the comments. Without further ado, let's get into it. So, my first pick. I used to have pictures I took myself off the TV before my phone had a little storage mishap. But anyway, here's a picture showing the same thing that I found off of Gaming Details and Reddit. Shout out to the guy who posted this little screenshot. But if you go to a certain bar in the Champion District before the whole Mizuki subplot is revealed in the first Yakuza on the PS2, and keep in mind this is only on the PS2 version, well, you can find the actual fake Mizuki tending her bar, but that being Bar Paris, or Pares. And notably, this is before Kiryu even knows that the whole Mizuki thing, so he wouldn't recognize her, but it's still an interesting detail. You can actually find her, well, bartending. It's little things like that that really make you appreciate the old crunch times and development cycles of older games of that era. They still found time with a little bit of passion to add these little intricate details I really appreciate. So that's my first spot on the list. Then next, we have Yakuza 5. And I really noticed this only like a week ago. And if you go to Bar Shelik, once again in the Champion District, you can find these 2 comedian guys about bartending. And if you talk to them, you can ask or let them do their comedic skit, their little comedy sketch, and they'll actually do it. Now, sadly, it's not translated. I don't think it ever was, from my knowledge. Who knows what they did back in the PS3, but as it stands with the more modern translation, it's not. However, they are fully voice acted. From my understanding, they are real guys, even though I can't find much of them online. And I don't think they're the same guys from Haruka's sub-story, since I haven't played those sub-stories in a long time, but it's really nice that to find that even something in Kamurocho and a game such as Yakuza 5 still has fun, fine details to, well, stumble upon like this. And before I get to some really juicy ones, I wanted to add my other one I found in Yakuza 5. And from what I can really remember, only Susukimino has these little maps that you see right here, and their little telephone booths in the city. It adds no little detail to what used to be the main way of saving in these games, the phone booths. But as you can see, if you go to your inventory and the map, there's even a little image of how these phone booths tie into the little map collecting treasure thing, only that Saejima can do in Susukimino. I just think it's really interesting, and I only caught it this time. Because I always wonder why that picture wanted me to go to that one particular phone booth, more towards the little ice park with the snowball and the giant Sapporo TV tower. As it turns out, I started walking away from it after finding the map, as you can see right here, man. And it turns out I run into some guy that happened to have the actual treasure you get for collecting one of the treasure maps, where he gives us that giant, or well, not giant, but a beer bottle that takes a while to break, and you can use it in combat. So yeah, I just stumbled upon this little bozo over here, but I can't call him a bozo. He gave me some beer, so good man, you made Santa happy. I like to think that if I was Santa, you just gotta leave like some chocolate out on a plate with some Blue Moons or Singa or even Yingling. Any of those 3 beers, I would be a happy, jolly guy. So that kind of goes for Yakuza 5. I'm pretty sure only Susukimino only has little maps of the actual city and its telephone booths. So let's go to Yakuza 0, where I got a mild spoiler for later on in the game if you haven't played it somehow. But anyway, after one of the chapters where Kiryu is teaming up with Makoto, you get to the point after a certain character passes away, and Makoto somewhat regains her vision and manages to leave the watchful eyes of Kiryu and Nishiki from the homeless park, West Park. And I noticed on the little hut shoes that she leaves a little thank you. I think it only appears after she disappears, but it's interesting that she took a little moment to write thank you for Kiryu and Nishiki for protecting her. It's kind of a bittersweet detail that I think still carries over into Kiwami 1 as a leftover asset, but in terms of open world details in these games that actually have something that changes from the story, and that's not as explicit as, say, what happens to Little Asia in Yakuza 6, well, I think for Yakuza 0, this is a nice little detail that I've really come to appreciate, especially when you play a bunch of these games and go back and try to observe something you haven't seen in them in quite a while. Alright, let's go to a more recent title, that being The Man Who Erased His Name, where if you go to the castle, a big, vibrant, amazing nightlife locale that reminds me of Purgatory, you can actually find this giant Fukupichan statue head. And if you can just look at those damn pupils, it's following you everywhere you go. I don't know if it's from the leftover castle guards, because you beat them up in the game or something, but it's stalking you everywhere you go on that damn main street of the castle. So yeah, next time watch your back when you're on the castle, because something is really fishy. And I don't just mean being out at sea. Ugh. Alright, let's go away from giant statues watching you like all the cameras we have everywhere in the world, and let's go to a little vacation spot. A better version of hanging out at the sea. That's right, infinite wealth. Honolulu, you can go to this place called Crystal Aloha Resort. A place with a really nice pool and a unique way to get into it from the front or back. But what I really noticed only after completing the game a year later, just hanging around in Premium Adventure, is this. As you saw at the pop-up, you can actually take your entire party, every member in the game, and you can see all of them just lounging around the pool. Whether it's the nice couches, little floaties in the pool, or just hanging around the edge, or just lounging and, getting your soak on and your tan. It's amazing, and it looks even better at sunset. You can bond with all of them. Nice little decent interactions. And it's just cool. It's just plain cool, man, seeing every character hanging about. I really thought this was a nice surprise. Now, it's not the most groundbreaking one, I'd say, but I just really was surprised to find this after putting like over 150 hours into the game and just goofing around a year later for all the DLC, and I just happened to find this. Now, I don't think it's part of the Big Wave DLC or the Big Swell DLC, since it's already part of the map, But I do think that it's just a nice detail since you have to talk to a bellhopper off to the side of the building. It's not someone at the actual reception. But yet, I just think it's a really unique detail. It's cool letting old man Kiryu finally relax a little bit, talk to some of his buddies, and it's just cool, you get to be Ichiban, you know, it's a break from having to be at either of the bars in the game. You can just hang out, enjoy an actual part of Hawaii, the sunset, the vibes, the locale, the tiki torches, everything. And you can even just play music on your CD and hang around and let every character heal and get a chance to rest. And I just really admire that. You know, especially for such a big departure in the series and having a city in America. It's really cool and it makes you wonder what Pirate Yakuza is gonna do with its version of Honolulu. Sure, I've seen some of the previews, but I can't wait to play that game. And it might be a little while, a little hot minute before I play it. Ooh, look at those badankas. But yeah, I'm excited to play Pirate Yakuza, and I really am happy to visit Honolulu and a more of a traditional way of playing the Yakuza games where, you know, beat 'em up combat and all that jazz. But yeah, that goes for my next entry, this little Crystal Aloha Resort, little interactable thing that kind of adds to that virtual tourism I've been talking about. And if you want to see another video about virtual tourism, then check out my video about Godzilla scenes in the Yakuza games. Well, really just talking about the location I've seen from those Godzilla and other tokusatsu films that have popped up in the Yakuza games, because, you know, they all take place in Japan, but it's really cool seeing that locale from a human perspective in these games. So let's go to my final spot on this list of secrets. Now, wait a minute, this one is more well known, but I just wanted to include it. I've mentioned it earlier on some other videos on the channel, just in passing and talking about like the memoirs from 8 or the memories from the character files, but I still wanted to touch upon it for a few seconds. That being the ghost from Yakuza 6, The Song of Life. These are more of a bigger spoiler, but if you're clicked on this already, then you know what to expect. And yeah, I do think that these ghosts trade in being less of a spooky thing and more of a melancholy memory for Kiryu in Yakuza 6. As you saw, I used the Mine one where he's grabbing to kind of make it a little bit of a funnier thumbnail and go crazy, go balls out. But still, I wanted to include it here since it's such a unique open world secret in these games that really ties into Kamurocho. And like I said, they repurposed this mechanic for Kaito files and Kiryu's memoirs and infinite wealth. And as a tease for a future video, you can expect me talking about a certain triad guy who was one of these ghosts in the games and his whole idea as a secret boss storyline in the series. But nonetheless, I do think that the ghost in 6 were a cool way to look at Kamurocho in a different way. Like, even the normal daylight setting in 6 for Kamurocho is the mix of an afternoon, which is weird since in 6 we don't get a sunset option for Kamurocho, but we do for Unamichi. But yet the skyboxes for the daytime in Unamichi is just different for the daytime in Kamurocho. I think that kind of contributes to kind of like the orangey kind of feel that the game has at times, and I think that the ghosts are emblematic of that. They fit that kind of daydreamy feel that the game has for Kiryu, despite all the hard things he's going through. And I think that in addition to that, the ghosts in 6 kind of add to the whole like trouble app system in 6, where you get to look at the environment in a different way that we still haven't really had in the Dragon Engine, where you get to pick up fire extinguishers that put out fire and all of that, among other things such as little UFOs you can activate in the map. And 6 is full of wonderful little secrets. But I think that kind of wraps up this quick little video to tide us over for my next video that's coming out. It's going to be a big ranking about a certain minigame in the series for February. But nonetheless, I've been Tiger Drop Films. Let me know if you've already seen some of these open world secrets, or if some of them were a bit more obscure. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, and maybe look at your surroundings in a different way like we do in these Yakuza games. I'll see you in the next one. Tiger Drop Films out. This next video, as you can probably tell, I'm also a big fan of tokusatsu, all things Godzilla and Ultraman alike, and many more. But growing up on these films from different eras, you got to see different parts of Japan and their regions. And wouldn't you know it, in the Yakuza games, these games are all about virtual tourism. I mean, you can go around parts of Tokyo, Osaka, Nagoya, and many others just to explore different parts and the visual scenery. Scenery that I've seen in these kaiju films. You just imagine walking around these places at these Yakuza games and seeing these things firsthand. And as you'll see in the video I'm about to discuss, you even get to see the Millennium Tower, which in real life is a giant hotel that has Godzilla's head on top in Japan, and the real life Kabukicho district. Without further ado, let's get into it. Hey there, sweet cheeks. Anyway, welcome back to Tiger Drop Films, and if this is your first time stopping by my channel, then welcome. And today I have a fun video to discuss. What if I told you the Millennium Tower has a real-life connection to Godzilla himself? Now we'll get to that fun fact in a little bit, but I wanted to make this video because I've been a Yakuza fan for the past 4 years. But I've also been a Godzilla and Ultraman fan for even longer. And it's a well-known fact that the Yakuza series is a great example of virtual tourism. By that I mean that all the open-world cities that you explore are a bit of fictionalized versions of real places in Japan, such as Kamurocho being Kabukicho in real life and Sotenbori being Dotonbori. That's just to name a few. But I won't lie to you that since I'm also a kaiju fan of tokusatsu, whenever I explore these cities in Yakuza, I'm always reminded of scenes from my favorite kaiju films. So that's a cool part about the Yakuza series that I really appreciate. It allows me to walk throughout these cities that Godzilla and Ultraman have stomped on for the past 70 years. And we're going to be talking about pretty much every Yakuza city in the series, including the upcoming Honolulu and Infinite Wealth. So let's get into it. Let's start off with Tokyo and Kamurocho. So in Yakuza 3 we get the fight at the National Diet Building, an iconic landmark in Tokyo, and it's home to the Japanese government. You guys will know it as the chapter where Majima shows up in a pink truck to save Kiryu and Date. It's a great fight and definitely a highlight of the game, and honestly a fight that isn't really talked about too much in the fanbase. Since this is the iconic building for the Japanese parliament, there's no doubt that's been destroyed by Godzilla and many other giant monster characters over the past 70 years. Notably, it was first destroyed by Godzilla in his first appearance in the 1954 classic, and it also reappeared in the 1962 classic King Kong vs. Godzilla, where King Kong jumps to the top of the Diet Building and kidnaps a woman. You know, classic Kong stuff. Other such examples of the Diet Building appearing in tokusatsu films would be in the 1992 Heisei film Godzilla vs. Mothra, the Millennium film Tokyo SOS in 2003, where it gets destroyed in a beautiful fashion. And the Diet Building is going to be appearing in the upcoming Ultraman Blazar film. So it's going to be pretty cool to see it get destroyed in all its tokusatsu glory once again. And next, when it comes to Kamurocho itself in Tokyo, I'm sure a lot of people are aware that the Millennium Tower in real life is called the Hotel Glacieri, and is connected to a Toho Cinemas that includes a giant Heisei Godzilla head that lights up at night and shoots a little bit of lights for atomic breath. That's pretty goddamn awesome, man. And around the time of Yakuza 6 is when they updated it to include the Toho Cinemas, because that's about when it was built, I believe. And it's just a really cool visual to take in when you're going down the streets, as seen in my footage here. Now, I wish they would add the Godzilla head at some point, but that's not gonna happen, but it'd be pretty damn cool to see, and maybe some mods can do that. There's a PS4 Godzilla game that came out 1,000 years ago, and one of the levels you can destroy the Hotel Glacieri as Godzilla, including the Godzilla head on the building. So it's pretty cool to go from that game and Yakuza to kind of see this, Millennium Tower from two different perspectives. It's pretty funny. Now, surprisingly, Tokyo Tower has not appeared in the Yakuza series so far. And with that in mind, there's surprisingly not much more to talk about in regards to Kamurocho and its connection to Godzilla. So we're going to move on to Osaka and Sotenbori. Yakuza 2, scene nobody can forget. You know the one I'm talking about, the part where Osaka Castle appears, and then it splits in half and reveals a smaller, golden Osaka Castle within. Now the long battle that follows is phenomenal. It's the one that ends with two tigers getting punched, and it's pretty much what I use for most of my Tiger Drop intros on this channel. But, of course, Osaka Castle has been destroyed quite a bit of times in Tokusatsu, notably in a 1955 film, Godzilla Raids Again, where the Big G slams Anguirus through the Osaka Castle. It's a pretty dope scene. And Osaka Castle would also be destroyed in the original Ultraman show during the fight between Gamora and Ultraman, and it's also a pretty brutal fight. You should check it out. Osaka Castle also appears in the second Gamera film where it's frozen by the kaiju Barugon. Then flash forward a couple decades, the castle does appear in Godzilla vs. Biollante, but it doesn't get destroyed. But the real-life version of Dotonbori, does appear in Godzilla vs. Biollante, where there's some great night shots of Godzilla wandering through Osaka. So whenever you're wandering Sotenbori at night in any of the Yakuza games, just imagine Godzilla marching through in the distance through all the canals and bridges. Next we have Okinawa, or the Ryukyu district seen in Yakuza 3. It's a pretty relaxing city, and right off the bat I have to make the neat connection between Nakahara and the Godzilla kaiju King Caesar, or as I used to know him as King Caesar. So the kaiju and Nakahara's Irizumi are both based off the Okinawa creature of folklore, the Shisha, a creature meant for standing guard and defending against evil spirits. And in case of Yakuza, Nakahara defended his family from those bulls and Tamashiro, and on King Caesar's side, he fought against Mechagodzilla. Both are pretty badass characters. I'm sure old man Nakahara could pick up Mechagodzilla if he wanted. Now, you don't really get to see a bunch of downtown Okinawa in the original Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, but you do get to see it in the 1997 film Rebirth of Mothra 2, where the antagonist of kaiju, the Hagra, marches through downtown Okinawa, and it's a pretty neat scene. And to be honest, a nice change of pace from the usual kaiju destruction settings. Next, I'd like to talk about Sapporo and Hokkaido. And in Yakuza 5, we get to explore the red light district, Tsukimino. And it's practically a joy for the eyes, as it's a winter wonderland full of brilliant Christmas lights and a bunch of snow sculptures. And whenever I wander around those outdoor malls with the large walkway canopies, I'm reminded of that scene in Gamera 2 Attack of Legion from the 90s trilogy, where Gamera lands in Sapporo and his feet come crashing through the outdoor malls and displaces a bunch of snow and debris. It's a really nice shot that puts the giant turtle in scale. And then we have the real standout of the Tsukimino map, the Sapporo TV tower located in the upper right hand corner of the map. The TV tower also appears in Gamera 2 Attack of Legion, but it also appears in the 1991 film Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. And if you're a longtime G fan, then you probably remember it as this part where Godzilla is marching through Sapporo, and he just knocks over that TV tower like it's nothing. It's a pretty great scene. So whenever I'm at this part in Yakuza 5, I just imagine Godzilla coming through and knocking over that tower. Now, if we got a full-on video game from a human perspective, that would be pretty cool, kind of like that City Shrouded in Shadow game from 1,000 years ago. But, you know, if we got that, like, somehow in a Yakuza game of all places, I'd be pretty stoked. You know, we got Dead Souls, so maybe we'll get a new Elseworld spin-off where Ichiban's schizophrenia makes Godzilla become real and he attacks all of Japan. It's up to Ichiban and his friends to take him on. I'd buy that for $1. And speaking of giant TV towers getting demolished, let's head over to Nagoya and its Kenicho district seen in Yakuza 5. Whereas that giant TV tower on the right side of the map, it's the Nagoya TV tower, and it's also pretty to look at nighttime. But the Nagoya TV tower was notably destroyed in the 1964 classic Mothra vs. Godzilla and the 1992 film Godzilla vs. Mothra. And if you're new to Godzilla, I know the titles can be confusing, just bear with me. But a fun fact I found out about the Nagoya TV tower is that it's the oldest TV tower in Japan. Ain't that a neat thing? In Mothra vs. Godzilla, it always stuck out to me how Godzilla isn't trying to deliberately destroy the city in this one. He just woke up and he's trying to get through his day, even if that means marching through a city. In this case, Nagoya. In the film, Godzilla's going through the city and his tail gets caught on the TV tower, and he struggles for a few seconds, then sends the tower knocking down, but it actually falls onto him, so it's a pretty funny scene, and I always enjoyed it. And then in the 1992 film, Godzilla vs. Mothra, Batra appears and he also knocks over the Nagoya TV tower. I'm really impressed by the practical sets and the overall scale and scope of these tokusatsu cities. So it was pretty cool to see Batra destroy the TV tower. Now, if only the Nagoya castle was included in Yakuza 5. If it was, then I could have spoke more about Nagoya. But as of now, that's pretty much it for this city. But don't get me wrong, it's one of my favorite to explore in the Yakuza franchise. The way it's laid out, it's very concise, and the more square shape really lends itself for easy exploration. But anyway, let's move on to the next entry on the list. Let's head over to Fukuoka and its little district, Nagasugai, that's also seen in Yakuza 5. For a map that does a great job capturing the real world while also being the perfect way to serve the gameplay, by that I mean the taxi missions, Nagasugai is a city that I really love, and it's honestly one that I really want to visit someday whenever I get the chance to. But to go back to the kaiju action, Fukuoka notably appears in the 1956 Rodan film. That's one that always stuck in my mind for how utterly chaotic the destruction is. Because compared to Godzilla's usual slow-walking destruction, Rodan's flying everywhere, and his gusts of wind and sonic claps are destroying Fukuoka. Fukuoka would then appear in Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah and Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla. Now, when you're playing Yakuza 5 and you're in Nagasuga, it's kind of hard to see the exact parts that those films show, but if you look at the footage I captured right here from Yakuza 5, I try to showcase the skyline of Nagasuga and try to match it with what we see in those two films I mentioned. But there's no doubt that RGG still did a fantastic job capturing the real place. If you go online, you can find a lot of comparisons, and they're really neat to check out. Shows how much care was put into capturing the real feeling. Maybe in the future, RGG can take us back to Fukuoka, and we can go to the Fukuoka Tower And that tower is destroyed in Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, so who knows, maybe in the future this video can be updated. But next, let's go to Yokohama, specifically the Injincho district seen in Yakuza 7 and Lost Judgment. Now there are two certain points on the map where you can look to see what's outside of the map, and it really stuck out to me, and I'll show you why. As either Ichiban or Yagami, if you go towards the top left area of the map and you look out, you can see the Yokohama Landmark Tower and the Cosmo Ferris Wheel, along with the Nippon Maru and the Intercontinental Grand Hotel. All these famous landmarks have appeared in films such as Godzilla vs. Mothra, 2001's GMK, and 2008's Superior 8 Ultra Brothers. Being able to gaze at these landmarks from the perspective of Ichiban or Yagami is really breathtaking. And I believe there's a few buildings and streets in Injincho that appear in the Superior 8 Ultra Brothers and GMK. Some of the scenes that cut the people evacuating on the ground, if you know what I mean. And for the other major highlight of Injincho or Yokohama, I want to show off the Yokohama Bay Bridge. A bridge that explicitly appears in GMK, where it gets destroyed by Godzilla's atomic breath. It's a pretty gripping scene and it really shows the scale of the bridge itself. And now this bridge also appears in Superior 8 Ultra Brothers, where all the Ultramen are teaming up and flying around the bridge as they fight against Alien Hipporito and the other alien threats. But whenever you're in these games, you look out into Yokohama Bay itself, all the vast ocean. I always imagine Godzilla fighting King Ghidorah at the bottom of the sea in GMK. And now, as I wrap up this video about sightseeing and giant monsters and Yakuza, I want to add that Unomichi or Hiroshima, to my knowledge, doesn't appear in any tokusatsu films, and you can probably assume why. But I just wanted to bring it up because it's the only city in the franchise that I didn't bring up in this video. But alas, let's move on to the final entry on this list, and the newest one as we're still getting information about it. But I played the Infinite Wealth demo, and it was a blast to explore that little part of Honolulu that we got to. And Honolulu and Hawaii itself appear in the 2014 American Godzilla film, where Godzilla rises and causes a tsunami to wash over the beach, and then the fight heads into the airport. There's lots of great shots in that entire scene. But when I was exploring Infinite Wealth and the beach, because you can actually swim in the ocean in this game, which is really damn cool, I was imagining the 2014 or the MonsterVerse Godzilla rising out of the ocean and causing a tsunami. But yeah, that's pretty much gonna wrap up this video, guys. It was kind of an interesting one for me, because I got to bring together different topics I've discussed on this channel, from obviously Like a Dragon franchise to Godzilla and Ultraman, and I just wanted to start the new year off right as we head into Infinite Wealth. So, thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe. I'm trying to get my subscriber count up to at least 500. And please hit the like button and share if you feel inclined to. If you don't, I'm not gonna cry about it, but if you did, I'm gonna smile about it. Enough cheesiness for me. Thank you guys for stopping by, and please stay tuned for more, because I have plenty that I want to discuss and talk about with you guys. So let me know in the comments below what your favorite kaiju film is, and your favorite city in the Yakuza series. So, Tiger Drop Film signing out, and I'll see you in the next one. And next we have Secrets of Yakuza's PS2 dub. And since there's been more dubs on the rising, such as Yakuza 0's Director's Cut, now I have an English dub. You can think about however choices you want for who they pick for the dubs, but even without that in mind, I just think it's pretty cool that going back to the PS2 dub for this video I made a few years ago, I just want to highlight some of the real raw talent that they had for the PS2 dub in Yakuza. There's a lot of cool reveals just to get this video and the particular actors they got. Something that blew away my mind. I just think it's really cool because I just really think it's good to appreciate voice actors from wherever they come and seeing how their careers span into different roles. For instance, I also love the Transformers franchise. When you get into that series, you can see a lot of great talent in voice acting that spanned up from the decades, from the 80s onwards into today, whether it's just American shows or anime dubbing or films or anything of that nature. You never know where a voice actor's career might lead. As someone who's interested in voice acting myself, that was pretty cool to highlight some particular actors in some PS2 dub. So without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome to Tiger Drop Films, and if you're a returning viewer, then I sincerely thank you. And for this Yakuza video, I have to ask, have you ever wanted to kick my ass? We'll answer that question today, because I'm going to talk about some of the sort of rare and pseudo-online multiplayer modes of the Yakuza series. Now, right off the bat, no, it's not multiplayer like you think it is. It's really just some online modes where you can create your own content in the Yakuza games and share them online, and therefore allow other players to engage with it. For instance, I recently finished Infinite Wealth's Dodonko Island, and it was really a great experience, and it truly felt like a gift that kept on giving in many ways, from all the great fan service from being a Yakuza fan, and just the creativity and freedom to do your own thing in building these resort islands. But at one point in this little side story, a little parrot comes along and Ichiban meets him, and he allows the player to engage in some online content. By that, you can visit other players' Dodonko Islands, their resorts, and you can visit their islands and complete little tasks that each player gives to you, the visitor. Whether that's just sightseeing, taking pictures, catching bugs and fish, and collecting items, or even engaging in Sujimon battles against this player. And this really just sparked my imagination with all the potential a Yakuza series really could have, and fostering a little online community, because to be frank, yeah, Yakuza games are single player and they should definitely stay a single player experience going forward. However, Yakuza is also a franchise that's full of a plethora of mini games, such as the couch co-op mini games that are present in every game, whether it's just playing pool, darts, or Virtua Fighter, and many other games. I think it's cool there's also a bit of an online component. And that's why, this part in the Dodonko Island experience really stuck out to me, because I did not expect the option to go and explore other players' islands and engage with their Sujimon teams. I just thought that was really cool. And recently I also went back to Yakuza 6, because through the Dodonko Island minigame and Infinite Wealth, I got a little curious. I started to think, well, what other little online content does the Yakuza series offer, besides just rankings? So I went back to the Kiryu Clan Creator minigame in Yakuza 6, and let me tell you, I was pleasantly surprised to learn that there was also an online component in that game. Now it's not much, but you can create your own defense team, and you can put it online and have other players challenge you. Yeah, you don't really get to see the fights in real time, but it's nice knowing that people can engage with your team that you put out there. For instance, I tried to raid someone else's team, and here's what happened.
Man, the guy's Date was like level 99. He one-shotted my Saejima. That's insane. And stuff like that I find just funny. You know, it's humorous, it's goofy, and it just fits Yakuza so well. And I do think it kind of scratches the itch of, you know, fighting other players through this clan creator mode. And stuff like that, Date taking up my Saejima was just priceless. And I really was happy to find that Yakuza 6's clan creator provided that. And this brings me to this point. At the beginning of the video I asked if you guys ever wanted to kick my ass. Well, there you go. I'm going to share it right here on the screen. Whether it's visiting my Dodonko Island and seeing what little things I have, you can kick the crap out of my Sujimon team. Or in Yakuza 6's Kiryu clan, you can raid my defenses and beat the crap out of me. How does that sound? I'm handing that over to you guys. Let's try to build a little bit of the Yakuza community in a different way besides just video essays and watching live streams. You know, let's try to engage with some of the online modes and just goof around a little bit. That's all I ask from Tiger Drop Films. Here's where you can find me on PlayStation. You can fight my teams of guys. And you know, maybe we can get some of the other Yakuza YouTubers on there to share their online modes and we can, you know, fight them too, huh? I think it'll be a lot of fun. You can get Snowiest Angry Man and Gokudonia and Devil Leon, you know, get everybody out there. That's all I want from my channel, just other ways to kind of help engage with the Yakuza community. I think there's some other ways that maybe we've overlooked that could be a lot of fun. And for other online modes in the series, there's also, I believe, in the first Judgment, and maybe it is in Lost Judgment 2, there's the drone racing where you can see online ranked play. You can also go through other people's races and you can try to beat their times. I'll have to double check on that, but the Judgment games also have a little bit of the online component. And then there's, of course, as I mentioned earlier, the couch co-op. Invite a friend, and you can battle them that way with pool, darts, and any other minigame like Virtua Fighter, from my knowledge. And I also checked back in Kiwami 2, and sadly the clan creator mode in that game, Majima Construction, it doesn't have the same type of pseudo-online play that the clan creator in 6 provided. Instead, in Kiwami 2, if you go to online play, you can have your Majima Construction fight at the Tojo clan headquarters. So it's pretty cool to be able to fight at the Tojo clan. That isn't really present in the main Majima Construction minigame, but if you want, you can go fight Red Man online in that little mode, so that was interesting. But overall, yep, this is just a small little video and just something I thought was interesting with the Yakuza franchise. You know, going forward, no, they shouldn't try to make some insane online mode. I don't know how well that would work or translate, you know, unless maybe they kept it a bit tactical like Sujimon, or even just the overall turn-based combat. Because with heat actions and other mechanics, I'm not so sure how the normal brawler combat would translate to online without it feeling just super janky. You know, compare that to your franchise like Resident Evil, which I also think really hasn't capitalized on some kind of middle ground of its online combat. With Resident Evil, they should just combine mercenaries and raid mode and go that route with online play, something simple enough for people to engage with without getting a little too hectic. But back to Yakuza, and who knows where Yakuza will go in the future. Maybe we'll see some other modes like Dodonko Island and Clan Creator that have some kind of small online component that extends beyond rankings. But again, who knows? The future is looking bright for the franchise, and I'm excited to see where it's going to go. Who knows what other insane mini games and side content the series is going to bring, and what kind of engagement that can also entail for the overall community. So, I've been Tiger Drop Films. Thank you guys for watching this smaller video of mine. And yeah, again, feel free to find me on these online modes. Tiger Drop Films out, and I'll see you in the next one. And next we have Secrets of Yakuza's PS2 dub. And since there's been more dubs on the rising, such as with Yakuza 0's Director's Cut, now I have an English dub. You can think about however choices you want for who they pick for the dubs, but even without that in mind, I just think it's pretty cool that going back to the PS2 dub for this video I made a few years ago, I just want to highlight some of the real raw talent that they had
for the PS2 dub, Yakuza. There's a lot of cool reveals just to get this video and the particular actors they got. Something that blew away my mind. I just think it's really cool because I just really think it's good to appreciate voice actors from wherever they come and seeing how their careers expand into different roles. For instance, I also love the Transformers franchise. You get into that series, you can see a lot of great talent in voice acting that spanned up from the decades, from the 80s onwards into today, whether it's just American shows or anime dubbing or films or anything of that nature. You never know where a voice actor's career might lead. And as someone who's interested in voice acting myself, I thought it was pretty cool to highlight some particular actors in this PS2 dub. So without further ado, let's get into it. Hey there, welcome back to Tiger Drop Films, and if you're a new viewer, then welcome even more. And today I've got an interesting video to talk about, that being the iconic Yakuza 1 PS2 dub. You've probably heard about it if you're a fan of the series, or memes, or just experiencing the game yourself. Well, on my most recent playthrough of the original game on the PS2, I really appreciated the voice acting in it. And sure, fans might like to poke fun at the way the PS2 dub was translated, how the lines are, stuff like that. But with that being said, after hearing a bit of the dub and Infinite Wealth, I still need to play the game, but after hearing a bit of that English dub, I gotta say the PS2 dub definitely has a bunch of incredible voice actors. Ones that have a pretty big catalog underneath their belt, and I'll explain why. You see, we can poke fun at the way things are localized and translated in the PS2 dub, but I still think all the actors give a very solid performance. Now, you might think the voice directors maybe didn't give them a lot of direction, and it's true, they didn't. However, in my most recent playthrough, I enjoyed the dub a lot, and it's because of the voice actors behind these characters. And you might be surprised at what some of the other roles these voice actors are known for. And sure, people know that Mark Hamill was in this dub, and I mean, who could forget Mark Hamill, right? But there's a lot of other voice actors that I want to highlight today, and that's what this video is about. Highlighting voice actors in this PS2 dub, and you might know some of these actors. So, let's dive into it. Now, as a guy that does want to get into voiceover and voice acting himself, I was really happily surprised to find out what voice actors are in this dub. And first up on the list, we have to talk about John DiMaggio. Oh man. Now here's some popular characters you might know him by. Bender from Futurama, the Scotsman from Samurai Jack, Joker in the Red Hood film, Aquaman in Brave and the Bold, and many others. Oh, he just has one of those distinct voices that even when he changes it for a role, you know that deep voice and who he is. And when I found out that John DiMaggio played Kashiwagi in this dub, even though he only has a little bit of screen time, it was a highlight for me. And I hope it's a highlight for you too. Next we got Michael Rosenbaum as Nishiki, and you might know him as the Flash in the DC animated universe, which includes projects such as the 2 Justice League TV shows, and he would also reprise his role as the Flash in the Justice League Doom film, among others. And once I realized that connection, now every time I hear that Flash, all I hear is Nishiki saying, 10 years in the joint made you a fucking pussy. But he also has a few live-action roles, such as Lex Luthor in Smallville. And I hope some other people my age remember Smallville. Please, let me know in the comments. And for my Ultraman fan viewers on this channel, if you're watching this, Michael Rosenbaum also dubbed over Evil Tiga in the Ultraman Tiga 4Kids dub. And next we got Debbie Derryberry as Haruka, and you might know her as the voice behind Jimmy Neutron. If you were a kid who grew up with Nickelodeon in the early 2000s, then that might be a surprise to you to know that Jimmy Neutron is in this dub, so that was pretty cool. And we also got Debbie Derryberry playing Koku Bandicoot in the Crash Bandicoot series. And when it comes to Date, he was played by Bill Farmer, who was famously played Goofy in a plethora of Disney projects the past couple decades. And if you're a Dead Rising fan, he also played a few Dead Rising side characters in that first game. And the cool thing is that Bill Farmer is still playing the Date in the English dubs to this day. And there's Michael Madsen, who played our big boy Shimano. There's a line that really sticks out to me in the dub where Shimano's like, "Shut the fuck up." But Michael Madsen's been in a bunch of Quentin Tarantino films. Next we have Fred Tatascore, who played Urobori in this dub, the Irizumi artist that inked Kiryu and Nishiki's Irizumis. Now Fred Tatascore, oh man, growing up he played the Hulk in so many projects, from video games to animated TV shows and animated films. He has that distinct, deep voice, that baritone that you just cannot mistake. And he also has a sort of a gentle side to his voice too that I like. Now, Fred Tatascore, he also played the English dub of Hamura in Judgment, and you also might know him as Nikolai in Call of Duty Zombies. And once again, for any of my Ultraman viewers watching this, he also dubbed over Shin Hayata in the Netflix anime of Ultraman. And of course, there's Mark Hamill, who you probably know him as Luke Skywalker or the Joker. And I also have fond memories of Mark Hamill playing Skips and Regular Show. What a legend. And Greg Berger, he played Tarada in this dub. Greg Berger is known for playing Grimlock in Transformers from all the way back in G1 to the video games such as the Cybertron games. Oh man, what a guy. He also played Brock Mason, the final boss in Dead Rising 1. I just found that out today, and that just blows me away knowing that Grimlock himself was the final boss. Oh, I had to tell my brothers about that. It's so badass. When it comes to Shintaro Kazuma, or as the dub refers to him as, Fuma Oyubun, he was played by Roger Jackson, who's notable for playing Mojo Jojo and the Powerpuff Girls. And now this might surprise you, he's also known for playing Ghostface in the Scream franchise. Oh, it's so badass. He would play the voice of Ghostface in all the films, which is badass. And I believe he also reprised his role for that one Scream TV show. So, cool stuff. And next we've got Dwight Schultz as the florist, who I played his little laugh bit in the opening of this video, and I really love the way he brings the florist down to earth, and I love his role in this dub. Now, he's known for playing the Vulture in the PS1 Spider-Man game, and also reprised his role as the Vulture in the first Insomniac game. And he's also known for playing Mung Dahl in Chowder. Oh, I love Chowder, man. And Mung Dahl's one of my heroes, so knowing that Dwight Schultz played Mung Dahl and the florist just makes my heart grow 3 times bigger. And Dwight Schultz also played Howling Mad Murdoch in the original A-Team. How about that? And for the last voice actor I want to bring up on this list, of course I gotta talk about Daryl Krullo, who played our boy Kiryu Kazuma. Or as the dub refers to him as, just Kazuma most of the time. Now, he's mostly done a lot of audio books, which is pretty cool, and that's something I kind of want to get into myself when I brought up wanting to try voiceover earlier. Because I feel like if you want to get into voice acting, you kind of have to work with voiceover too. You gotta start simple. So, Daryl Carrillo's done a lot of audio books, and he also played Alex Mercer in Prototype 2. And additionally, he played Shockwave in Transformers Devastation. And what's pretty cool is that he reprised his role as Kiryu in the Yakuza 7 dub. I wish they got him back for Gaiden and Infinite Wealth. As you know, even though I play these games in Japanese, I still think that if you're going to have a Kiryu voice in English, it's got to be Daryl. So, in conclusion, whenever you replay the Yakuza PS2, and just think about that, in this dub, you've got Goofy, The Flash, Bender, Ghostface, Grimlock, the Hulk, and so many wonderful voice actors that have played so many characters over the years. I just wanted to really highlight voice acting and the wonderful voice actors behind them. And that even when it comes to a fun dub such as this, there was still a lot of talent behind it. So, thank you guys so much for watching. I've been Tiger Drop Films. Hit the like and subscribe. Let me know which of these voice actors are your favorite, or that you might have met them at some point at a convention. Let me know about all that jazz below. And thank you guys for watching. Please stay tuned for more, cause I got more coming. Take care, and remember to be spicy.
Huh? You had me going there for a second.
Alright, here's the last video in this compilation. Now, as we've seen throughout the course of this video, these aren't always primarily Easter eggs or secrets or not, it's just things that are interesting in the series, because you never know how fast the franchise can span. Even one that is still more relatively niche, such as Yakuza or Like a Dragon. But RGG Studios is still growing as ever, and I'm really proud of them. I'm so happy to be a fan of this amazing series. I'm sure you are too, huh? It's a great series, just drink some alcohol and play video games on it. Especially on a Saturday night. But anyway, here's the last video of my compilation, that being one of the coolest Easter eggs ever found in a video game ever. And you kind of have to go out of your way to find it, much like these other ones. But this is in Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name. An amazing gauntlet of boss battles only found in the IFA virtual reality machine. It has a great throwback in of itself to Kiryu's early days in the series. But without further ado, let's get into it. And thank you guys so much for watching. Here is the coolest Easter egg in Like a Dragon Gaiden. The man who erased his name. Wow.
Yoshi, yoshi.
Welcome to Tiger Drop Films, and if you're a returning viewer, then I hope you've brought your Stamina Royale and your favorite bloody binding. And we got a fun video to talk about today, so let's get into it. And regarding this Easter egg in Gaiden, there will be spoilers for every game except Infinite Wealth, so you've been warned, and I haven't gotten to Infinite Wealth yet, so... But anyway, let's talk about what I find to be the coolest Easter egg in Like a Dragon Gaiden. Now, Like a Dragon Gaiden is a game full of wonderful homages and references to Kazuma Kiryu's mighty legacy that we all know and love, and by God, I adore it. In Gaiden, there's plenty of cool references, such as returning side characters and the side content from side stories like that wonderful Ryuji Goda story. And if you're familiar with my channel, you know that Ryuji Goda is my favorite antagonist in the series, so that whole chain of side stories was wonderful. There's a bunch of cool references, and we even get to see Kiryu reunite with Majima, Daigo, and Saejima perfectly. And it's all great. There's much more to even talk about. But in the Coliseum, there's a very special Easter egg that you actually get to engage in and play with. And that is the return of IF7 from Dr. Minamida from Yakuza 3, 4, and 5. But now it's been upgraded from IF7 to IF9, yes. And you know that since it's going to be Kiryu going back into this video game virtual reality machine, it's going to be about him going back through his memories. And as you see in the footage I have, it's from a bonus challenge mode in Yakuza 3 where you get to fight another Kiryu. But in Gaiden, you actually get to do something wonderful. And that is going back and fighting through all the boss battles in the mainline series that Kiryu himself has overcome and defeated. And there's only 6 boss fights included, going backwards from Iwami to our boy Nishiki. And you might be wondering, and yeah, Shibusawa is excluded, but I can see why. Even though I love Zero and it was the one that got me to this franchise, it is kind of a bit of a bonus game if you kind of think about it in hindsight once you play the rest of the games. But with that in mind, I still wish we got to fight Shibusawa. I guess Ishin Kiwami kind of gave us that. But in the context of Gaiden, we get to fight the main antagonists of the main 6 games. And I think it's a brilliant way not only to be fan service and a trip down memory lane, but a way to help culminate Kiryu's journey, as the whole point of Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man erased his name, is that, well, Kiryu had to erase his name, and he's just trying to run away from his past, but ultimately has to still confront who he is. No matter what he says, he's not Joryu, he's Kiryu. And what better way to illustrate this inner turmoil than going back to the Millennium Tower and the IF-9 game machine and fighting these antagonists that had such an instrumental impact on Kiryu's life. I mean, I think that going backwards from Iwami to Nishiki makes it even better and more fruitful. Because, as I talked about in my own video essay about Iwami, it's always a pleasure to beat the crap out of him like he's nobody. So I think it's better if the final boss in this little gauntlet is our boy Nishiki. And besides from having the Millennium Tower return, and it's the version we actually got to see in Yakuza 4 and 5 redone in the Dragon Engine, which is such a treat. Because in the other games like 6 and 7, whenever you go to the Millennium Tower, you don't go to the rooftop anymore. Like, not the helipad part. So I thought it was pretty awesome to see that remade in the Dragon Engine. But all 6 of these boss fights are accompanied by their respective final boss themes, which is such a wonderful treat. I mean, going from order in the game, we get to hear The Way of Life, then Battle for the Dream, For Faith, Fly, A Sacred Scattered Moment, and For Whose Sake. All these themes that resonate with us fans in different ways. Some of them are just hype fights, but a lot of these fights are truly emotional, from the payoff to the story and just the overall journey that the Like a Dragon series can uniquely give to players. And for myself, it was a blast to revisit these incredible boss fights, and I bet for Kiryu himself, it was a way for him just to reflect in the IF-9 machine, and which in of itself is a cool way to bring back an old mechanic from the Yakuza 3, 4, and 5 days. If only Mac would return. I know you guys want Mac to return. Everybody needs Mac in our lives. But seeing Minamina's machine and IF-7 return in its new form was breathtaking. And I just think that Gaiden as a whole does a great job celebrating Kiryu's legacy. And as a guy who loves Yakuza 6, and I thought it was a pretty good way to let Kiryu rest for a little bit before we go back to him. I know a lot of people thought 6 didn't really do a great job celebrating Kiryu's legacy with bringing back side characters and all that, and that's why I think Gaiden is a great companion piece to 6, and vice versa. Nowadays, I know I'm not going to be able to play one without replaying the other, if that makes sense. They're both a great way to send off Kiryu, in terms of his classic fighting style that isn't turn-based. So I really think that Like a Dragon Gaiden is such a fun way to revisit old themes and gameplay mechanics that we haven't seen in a long time. And I do think that it's just a way of showing why the Like a Dragon series is so unique in the realm of gaming. And I am excited to play Infinite Wealth, but I do think that Infinite Wealth is truly going to be the end of an era for Yakuza, and that anything after that might just be a bit different than what we're used to. The homie Goku Doni already did a great video over Shishido, the badass dude from this game that really truly stands among these other 6 boss fights you see in the footage. And of course, Goku Doni already went over Shishido in great detail, but I think that it's such a treat to have that incredible Shishido boss fight in this game, but at the same time, I can hop over to this little side game mode in the Coliseum and revisit these other amazing boss fights. It truly feels like a greatest hits of Kiryu's legacy. And believe me, there's some mandatory fights if you want to progress through the side stories in the Coliseum that are brutal, like the one where you have to fight all 4 kings at once with an army of very strong soldiers alongside them. That fight took me about a week just getting on and off on the game, but I think that this Minamina Grand Prix match is a great way to kind of just relax a little bit and go down memory lane. If I had one small critique about this Easter egg, it would be that since it's already in a sort of dream virtual state for Kiryu, I wish we were able to equip his classic gray and red outfit. I mean, it's a virtual reality anyway. Can't we just let him dream of, truly being back in there? Or at least having the gray pants and having his Dragon Irizumi showing? Now, that's just the only little critique I had that I wish we could have got. Just, a little bit more icing on this already rich cake. But I guess if we got that, then we wouldn't be able to get that awesome reveal with the Shishido fight where we finally get to see that sacred Dragon Irizumi. But it looks like in Infinite Wealth we finally get to have Kiryu run around with his Irizumi showing since he's in America and can go swimming on the beach. So I guess it all works out in the end, huh? Because if you think about it, we haven't been able to free roam as Kiryu with the shirt off since, Yakuza 3? And maybe 4 if you count having to wear the wrestler outfit instead of just, taking the shirt off. Because I think the actual last time it released that we got to see that was Kiwami 2 in free roam. But, I won't keep you guys too longer, so let me wrap up. I think that this special series of boss fights and Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name, is a great way to really celebrate Kiryu's legacy, and as we see in the end credit scene where Kiryu finally gets to put Yumi's ring in the church in Hawaii, I think it was a cool way to kind of let Kiryu let go of his past, and in this game mode fight these old boss fights that truly challenged him in some way. And I think that it's just such a wonderful way to kind of have a quirky sort of PS2, PS3 era bonus mode. And I think that if you haven't gotten to this special Minamita Grand Prix fight yet, then you should go for it. Just grind through the Coliseum and you'll unlock it. It's totally worth it.
And well, that'll about do it, guys. Thank you so much for watching this compilation of my secret Yakuza videos in the past. If you're an old fan or a new fan, let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think some of these videos aged well? What was your favorite video? Got any secrets you want to tell me? Please let me know in the comments below. In the meantime, stay tuned, because me, Mr. Attacker Drop Films, I got more coming, more Yakuza videos that you need, that only I can supply. Think of me like the kind of guy in Kamurocho you go to start a series of side quests, find my stuff, and I'll give you something in return. What might that be in particular? We'll find out. But be sure to like and subscribe, share my Yakuza video essays around, especially that Tanamura Files one. And I'll see you in the next one. Tiger Drop Films out.